we tend to believe we're not going to discount anything. However, we tend to believe that the Billy Jasper account is highly likely close to the truth. Not saying it's entirely true, but when you go through every bit of what he's saying, it makes sense. We've gone over and over and over. In 4 years, we have tried to pull it to pieces, and everything stacks up. And the very important thing, I think I mentioned it before, is he doesn't just talk about the murders of Tate, Tucker and Rolfe. He talks about the murder of Nick Whiting, and the information that the evidence that he gives in relation to the murder of Nick Whiting is completely corroborated. We've spoken completely separately to Billy Jasper. We've spoken to the officer in the case for Nick Whiting's murder. We've spoken to surveillance officers from the Met who were on, watched or doing surveillance on the British flag at the time that one of the stolen cars turned up, etc., etc., etc. We've spoken to another Met detective who's, Albert Redding was his informant. That's in the public domain. No, there's nothing in Albert's dead, so it doesn't matter. But when you put everything together, what Billy Jasper is saying makes complete sense. Not everything is correct, but it makes a very compelling argument. Then you add into it and I've got to be very careful what I say here, when you add into it the new evidence, the new witnesses, it becomes even more compelling. I know one particular individual doesn't like the word compelling, but that's the word. It's compelling. And if you stuck it in front of the Court of Appeal and you got particularly the new witness to give evidence, I think that there'd be a finding of a miscarriage of justice almost immediately, a wrongful conviction immediately. So I think that to answer the question, the story that Billy Jasper puts forward, that he was the driver, he names the people who set it up, and I'm not going to name them here. He talks about Billy Gale, and that's been corroborated now. And he talks about the person who was the assassin, and that's the true. We think is probably the true story. If Essex police had just picked up the bloody phone and phoned anyone in the Metropolitan Police and said, "Hello, Essex Police here, murder squad, investigating Tucker, Tate and Rolfe's murders. We've got a bloke in custody by the name of Billy Jasper." Number one, fireworks would have gone off because Billy Jasper was an informant, a high-profile, prolific, very trusted informant for the Met Police. Number two, the people he was talking about were all under investigation by some of the most senior teams in the Met. And one particular one, obviously Patsy Clark, was subject to the biggest ever investigation in the Met's policing history, the Brinks-Mat robbery. So if you'd have just phoned the Met and mentioned those names, fireworks would have gone off. They would have had people coming down to see them. And importantly, the handler for Billy would have come and given them material that would have shown that he was a trusted source, and would have probably been able to sit down and talk to Billy Jasper and probably got more from him at that stage. It was a complete and utter balls up from beginning to end by Essex Police, and simply we now think, and we can't work out why, but we now think the simple reason why they discounted his evidence was because he didn't take them to Workhouse Lane. When he took them out on two occasions, separate occasions, he didn't take them to the murder scene as they understood it. He took them, to all intents and purposes, to a lane miles away. And they hadn't got the advantage of Google Maps and, all the other advantages of modern day. They couldn't work out that what he was saying was a simple route across a field or a couple of fields to the murder scene and back. It was that close. They hadn't worked that out. And so they discounted it. And they discounted it quite wrongly.